Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm Paul McCarthy, and today I'm joined by Andy Lister from Detego Global. Andy, it's great to have you with us today. Could you just start off by telling us a bit about your business, please?
Yeah, so I joined Detego Global in 2014. It's a company that innovates technology to defeat counter-paedophile, counter-narcotics, working with the police, intelligence agencies, militaries, organizations that might need to access data, sometimes difficult data, stressful data, in a rapid fashion to protect children and government interests and all of the above. We're now also pushing into the corporate space and looking at banking and response to incidents and case management and pieces like that. So yes, it is a great company to be part of and to lead.
Okay, is it by the sound of it? Obviously, it's a global company, so you trade in lots of different countries.
Yeah, 100%. So we develop technology, right? That's our mainstay, is developing technology, giving services out, training organizations how to use that technology. But we work off a reseller model. So we go out to different resellers and value-added partners that are in regions. We approach them or they approach us, and we say, hey, our technology might fit in your space. You know your region, you know your nuances, you know your client bases. This is a great little package of stuff. This is why. Let us help train you, build you up, support you so that you can spread that out. We've got 2 offices here in near Gatwick, in Horsham. We've literally just opened up our 2nd office there. And we've got some out in South Africa, Dubai, and also in America. But generally how we work it is via a network of resellers and also word of mouth. So we're about 50 strong. So we're still a small boutique British company that's kind of pushing out against some of the giants, but we are increasing our size and our footprint all the time, and obviously the dynamics and interesting pieces that go along with that.
Brilliant. And what was your background?
So I came out of the military. So I went into the Royal Marines at 18. I did 10 years in that and absolutely loved it. It gave me such a grounding in many different ways that you've probably all heard multiple times these days. And then luckily for me, I graduated to Special Operations, Special Forces, a group called the Special Boat Service, SBS. Pretty much the same as the SAS, the selection and training is all joint. And then I was lucky enough to spend the last 10 years nearly in that, so two decades. And that was phenomenal. That really, people ask me all the time about transition, being a veteran and pieces like that. And that really actually set me up for the corporate world and to step in, because so many of those skills, especially from the kind of more specialist units, are totally transferable. When I moved into that sort of 2nd level of my military career, the kind of professionalism, the working in small tight teams, the debriefs, the learning points, and working with multidisciplinary massive other agencies, all the politics that go with that, it's just like stepping into a boardroom. It's wearing a different suit, right? So and then I was using this type of technology on overt and covert operations, and sadly I got badly blown up. NHS were amazing, by the way. 24 operations, massively looked out for me. Can't say enough about them. But that did end my sort of main military career. But I've been speaking with the CEO of Detego at the time, or MCMS as it was called back then. We also learned about why to rebrand and how that can have a big impact. And so I jumped in as special projects, and then sort of escalated up to business development for the global side, and for the last year been managing director and managing the whole company under the vision of the CEO Dave Kirk. So
fantastic. And what's your secret sauce in the company? What's really different from you to your competitors?
I think at the moment it is, like I mentioned earlier, we are that boutique. We're big enough to be powerful, but we're small enough to be agile, right? And the problem that I'm going to have and my senior team are going to have is trying to keep that ethos as we grow. 2024 we envisage to be a big leap for us as a company, another set of growing pains, but we want to stay true to that kind of agile supportive piece. For example, we will have a single investigator from a police force call us up, and we react to that almost in the same way that we would react to something like with program record for SOCOM, with a multi-million-dollar contract out there, hundreds of our kits out doing good stuff around the world, and we obviously need to react to them spot on the money as well. So for us, that is kind of where we've been going and growing as a company. The secret sauce for us, I guess, is the fact that we've grown as a company, and we've managed to use the team correctly within the organization and not lose that kind of bespoke deal that we're giving for the users, not just chasing the dollar, but it is very important. We are a business. We do need to make money. There is a bottom line there, but also not selling our souls for that and going, do you know what, on part of this, I work off a 70-30 rule, and that's a pretty good ratio in my mind for how we should be doing our business. The 70% is for the greater good, and 30% has a slightly selfish feel in there. But then we're augmenting our team. So we score a big contract, we do that, we're able to expand the team. Maybe some of the work we're doing now in the corporate space for some people doesn't feel as rewarding as helping the counter paedophile teams catch paedophiles, bring them to justice. But at the end of the day, money coming in from that grows both sides of the team. So I think just the teamwork and the way we work as a company now really is the secret sauce of the company. Staying true to our core technology, not going too far outside our lane, but also having that ability to be able to see new areas that we need to step into to stay relevant.
Right. Obviously, it sounds like you've had a very interesting career and lead up to this and come across some amazing people, no doubt. Is there any sort of particular person that's really inspired you?
There's a few, and I'll try and be quick because clearly I can talk. But my mum is an amazing individual. I know that's most people go, of course your mum, but she was a single mum. She worked multiple jobs, and something I do say to her is, while she was doing all that and looking after two boys, she divorced from my father and brought us up on her own. At that same time, I never wanted for her time, and kind of linked to that, which I think was quite important, was I started martial arts quite young with my lead instructor, Dave McNairn, and he became like a bit of a father figure for me, kept me on the straight and narrow, and a couple of my close friends actually that have gone on to do really good things. So that kind of combination filled that family bubble. I think that is a great grounding for a lot of people. And then moving on from that space into my military career, where I could list about, I don't have enough fingers and toes for the amount of mentors that I've met as I've gone through my progression there of all kinds, through to coming out and engaging with Dave Kirk, the CEO here. Obviously, he's been a great mentor, and we've worked on Detego Global together. And the typical transition piece, more significantly involved in the early days, and then trying to have that handoff so that he can enjoy more of his life, and then I can sort of start driving that vision out for the company and actually expanding the team and keeping that drive going, and it's working great.
Brilliant. So there's quite a few people through your sort of life story that have really shaped you and made you the person you are right now, which is fantastic. When you joined Detego, how big were they then? Are they obviously smaller than they are now?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've probably quadrupled in size since I joined, and we actually we could right now do with significantly increasing again. But I think part of it is we're consolidating. We're making sure we've spent a good 2 years now re-looking at our culture, re-looking at our staff, re-looking at the generation that's coming in. We had a small period where there was a little bit of a churn around the development teams. I mean, it's a stressful job anyway. You sat behind computers and a desk, and sometimes that doesn't always feel rewarding. And we realized maybe we haven't been explaining well enough to the team, who are you doing this for? What are the results to some of these forces out there, like I say, protecting children, some of the stopping drugs coming into the country, or protecting people's lives on operations. So we started to involve that a lot more. We picked up the culture. We started giving birthdays off, not included in your annual leave, just little things to say thank you, a kind of end of year bonus system for all the staff, and actually more flexibility within what we were doing. So yeah, we've probably quadrupled, but we could probably do a quadruple.
So
but we can limit that.
So when you joined the business, it was very different to what it is now. During that time, what's been your sort of biggest learning, would you say?
Biggest learning curve for me, when I walked in the door, was actually sort of looking at the various levels that you naturally have in any organization, and coming from the bubble that I had come from, talking to the junior members of the team and mid-level team, and putting pieces out there, communicating it really well in my mind, and then coming back on a Thursday saying, hey, we're good to go on Monday, right, for the presentation or whatever it is we're doing for Amazon or whoever it happened to be, and getting the kind of, oh, well, I've hit a roadblock. When did you know about that roadblock? Oh, Tuesday. Well, it's Thursday. have you done anything about, oh, well, that it was John in whatever, and that's their partnership. They need to sort that out first. Yeah, but you haven't communicated that. So my biggest learning curve was actually you don't want to long screwdriver, as we call it, be too overbearing on the team, but you do need to mentor and hold hands until the company is up to speed of understanding the philosophy that you have, which is very much team ethic, team ethos, work together, communicate, pass those. When you hit a wall and you can easily blame it on someone else, don't just stop and sit back and let them wallow, and then when it comes up it all falls over. Pass that information. And that sounds really obvious and really easy, but it wasn't really happening in that fashion, and I expected it to without knowing. So there was a couple of areas where I tripped up in the early days by just expecting all that to magically happen because it happened in my old group. Now we have that absolutely up and running, and even to the point, it's fantastic. We have a lot of the team there now, also because of the company culture piece that Lois, I have to make a shout out to her and HR for the work that she's been doing there, changing that. So although we work in a software development company, a lot of times people go, oh, there's 5 o'clock, computers switching off. And there is something really good about that, making sure work and personal life and things are separated in bits there. But also in the world that we work in, for special forces, intelligence agencies, police agencies, these kind of pieces, it's a 24-hour clock. And there's certain members of the team that have backgrounds and are purposely on almost a 24-hour call, but not a lot of the development teams. But what we're starting to find is a lot of that team have started to realize what we're doing as a company, what we're achieving. And I'll pick up a phone, I'll have something going wrong, and I won't even realize because I'm in another part of the country that it's half an hour over close of business kind of piece, and they'll pick up the phone. And actually, I'll get something back that night to help the team. However, obviously, the good piece there from a company side is you've got to give back. So if they've done that, you need to recognize it. There is something about patting people on the back and saying, hey, do you know what? I really appreciate that. Like you would in your personal life, but from a professional piece. And then going, do you know what? Next Friday or pick a Friday, take that afternoon off as a thanks for the 2 hours you put in at that night that you didn't have to do. And by the way, here was the knock-on effect for the client. They actually managed to go out and do what they needed to do. They made an arrest, all those kind of pieces. So
that's really interesting, just showing the sort of bigger picture of what they're achieving. I think we can all get stuck in the day to day, can't we, and forget what the end game is. That's a really good learning. We've gone through some interesting times over the last 4 or 5 years. Obviously, Brexit to COVID to the economy. Have you made any significant changes in the business during that time to cope with those challenges?
I think we were going through changes anyway, like the ones that I've just said, but I think that's been accelerated by COVID. So, and the generation coming through. So we've had to sort of shake off some of the traditional work ethos that we'd have and go, actually, we still want people to perform at the top level there, but how do we help them achieve that? So it could be simple things like, do you know what, I'm rushing in the morning to drop the kids off, to do whatever, to make my sort of start time at work so I don't look out of place. Well, okay, we'll slip the time half an hour, give you that breathing space to get into work, to do what you need to do, but you'll just work half an hour later and then have that reshift those. Hybrid working obviously has come in for us now, so we're more flexible with as long as you warrant it within your job role. But it's also important to get back in the office. There is, for us, there is a certain amount of team culture there that you can only breed properly and truly with physical interaction with people. You can do it a little bit over Teams and all the different pieces. So we try and do that. We also try and do some corporate days. We have an alignment day coming up. We did karting last year and some other pieces. We might be doing like pizza making challenges and all that, you know, kind of stuff. So it helped accelerate that for us. From a business point of view, did it hurt us? Maybe in some ways that we haven't fully seen come through the wash for us yet, but in other ways it definitely increased our business. And sadly, it's because of part of our technology is designed to catch bad guys, girls, people, all the other pieces that are out there. And as a lot of these groups became more insular or were at home significantly more, they were on their phones, their laptops, their devices, using drones more, all these pieces that we can investigate, even if they're locked, encrypted, and pieces like that. And sadly, the interest in the pedophilia space, with people being kind of locked in at home a little bit more, increased. And that's just the reality of the world, right? And you've got to have good officers out there fighting that, which they are, and I doff my cap to them, and great technology backing them up. And so in that sense, we were shielded a little bit maybe from some of the problems other businesses maybe endured.
Right. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So let's look into the future a bit. Now, I am mindful of the sensitive nature of what you do. So obviously, being sensitive to what you can answer here. So looking forward to the next 5 years, say, what are going to be the challenges within your industry, do you think?
The same challenges that are there right now, new challenges we're not going to see. So we're always trying to do this predictive kind of piece. But the typical encryption. Encryption is always an issue. Locked devices, people encrypting it, access to devices, of course, legally. Warrants through a judge, etc. The individual, oh, I've forgotten my password, that kind of piece. Well, we know you've potentially got naughty stuff on your machine. We need to get access to that, and finding ways to do that. Of course, the people that develop encryption, they're getting better every day. The people that are doing what we do, we need to get better every day, but we just need to control, obviously, who uses that type of technology. So there's strict rules in place for us on that kind of piece. So one is encryption, one is data sizes. Data sizes are just huge now. Gone are the days where you pick up a 16 gig thumbstick. Even you go and try and buy an 8 gig thumbstick on Amazon and you'll struggle. Whereas, maybe a decade ago, to buy an 8 gig thumbstick cost you a fortune. Now it's out there. The devices are going up to 2 terabyte thumbsticks, pieces like that. Phones are up to a terabyte and plus. Laptops, let's not even go. That's huge amounts of data. People are using all of that more, which creates more of a cognitive stress on investigators because they've got to go through that. And they've also got a heart and a soul, and they see what happens here and they're going, I don't want to miss something. But by maybe going through the traditional every single piece, how we maybe did it years ago, you're now backing up 50, 60, 70, 80 devices. They're coming in too quick. So now you've got more victims possibly, or less justice happening because you're not getting to those. So that's where we utilize our technology and pieces to automate a lot of it, to still give the investigator freedom, but it can automatically identify cars, boats, people, drugs, nudity, indecent images, all these sort of things across all those different devices. But as that data size grows, obviously that's going to become more of a problem. As encryption grows, more of a problem. Those kind of bits. So that's probably our biggest challenge, I think.
It's exponential growth, isn't it? It's not just that it's growing like that. It's a real hockey stick, isn't it? The way that that's sort of growing.
100%. And not just that. The only advantage I might see in that space is we might start finding it becoming more polarized as time goes on. So instead of, although there'll be more devices, more data, all those kind of pieces, we might start seeing some of the fringe devices sort of disappearing off, apart from some of the other areas of the world that we work in that are 10 years behind and play catch up, if you like. So again, just iPhones and Androids in the phone space, Mac and Windows, ports, cables, it all sounds really boring to most people. But if you've got 50 different ports across 50 different phone types, that can create a problem for investigators. Yeah. Go somewhere quickly. As the device sort of rules and regulations come in to bring everybody in line, it starts to become a little bit easier. So maybe there's a little bit of a silver lining in there somewhere.
And what are your aspirations over the next 5 years? You already talked about there's going to be growth, especially over the next year or so. What are your aspirations for the business over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, 2024, I think we're going to have another painful jump. What I say, it's really good and great, and of course we want to expand, but we obviously are pre-planning that right now, and how we do that without jumping too quick and losing some of the secret sauce that we might have in the company. So that's one piece, looking out to 2024. As we move over the next 5 years, that growth for us is just going to continue as it has done. In fact, it's going to probably accelerate, and then we're going to have to look at potentially splitting the company under that umbrella into siloed areas. So we outsource at the moment for some overborn labs in the police forces, where they will send us some of the digital devices of suspected criminals, and we will be able to go through the data, produce reports, send that all back to them. It's all securely, it's all extremely well monitored, and pieces like that. That's done within one of our labs, within one of our buildings, but that's growing. So that might become a kind of umbrella side of the business on its own. The corporate side is massively grown. Case management, endpoint, these kind of products that maybe aren't so much for the services like the police, the military, the intelligence, they're aimed at the corporate piece, but have an absolute effect in those spaces as well. And what we might silo those off, but what we're definitely going to do is keep them all interoperable. So the end state would be whichever of those industries I'm in. Oh, I need case management. Okay, great. Detego, they're awesome. Their support's great. Let's utilize their stuff. We are budget friendly, all that kind of piece. Okay, let's look at that. We also need digital forensics. Well, hang on. They run an amazing digital forensic technology as well. Okay, we can utilize that. Oh, and it works with our current case management system, and it can bring other pieces in. Training burden, learning curve, all those pieces reduce, which is obviously better for the corporate space from a financial point of view, and from the military, etc. They're already overborne with skill sets and needing to keep those up. Anything we can do to improve that. So yeah, it's going to be a great 5 years for sure. We're definitely in the right industry. I really feel like we're the right people in the right industry trying to do the right thing. So I see our trajectory and our path just growing.
So it sounds like length and breadth sort of growth, really, doesn't it? It's expanding what you do and the scope of the scale of what you already do. What about, so something that's come up quite a few times in these interviews that I've done before is this challenge around skills, getting the right people. Is that something that's been a challenge for you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we get asked this question a lot from individuals all over the world, actually, saying, well, how do I get into digital forensics, or how do I get into the investigation space? And it is really difficult, because you end up, there's a really hard point, because there's so many great investigators out there for the police. And of course, they're in a governmental role that has extra benefits of pensions, security, all the different pieces there, and job satisfaction to be the person at the front doing that work is phenomenal. But maybe after 10 years, whatever it is, your partner has had enough of that side. You're tempted by the corporate space, and the financial aspects of that are significantly better. Maybe the working life in some ways is less stressful. Those kind of pieces. So we end up finding that you start losing those individuals from those forces across to that corporate, across to the corporate space. So we want to embrace that. Of course, we want to bring those individuals in. We have a lot from police backgrounds, military backgrounds, of course, intelligence backgrounds, and civilian ones. But what we also do is bring in new individuals, and we go, hey, have a try. You look bright. You came through the interview piece. Sometimes we don't always run it off. What is your background? What is your digital qualifications and pieces like that? Because we have looked at that, and it doesn't always work out how you think. And it's a lot of time and effort. And we genuinely pour a lot of time and effort into our team to give them the best start and to get the best out of them. But it doesn't always work that way if you go purely off what it looks like on paper. A really good example, we've got one of the team came in as a support representative, Matt, and he's done fantastically well within that role. And we realized very quickly, actually, really quite good with the front end clients at supporting them, pieces like that. So he's moved into more of a frontline role, and that's, elevated his career, and his career path and trajectory have totally changed. And that was all in his own hands. We just helped him as a company, right? So it's bringing those people in, finding the right job. Hey, maybe they're not the right fit for that role, but we all thought they were, and they did. Okay, let's have the flexibility to help move them into a role that is more aimed at them. So
fantastic. And then let's go into the past a little bit. So if you could do anything differently and start again, what would that be?
I'm really lucky. It's probably, I don't know if it's the wrong, not a lot. I wouldn't change a lot. I think I have quite strong feelings, and I'm passionate about a lot of bits. That includes making mistakes, learning from mistakes. We all know the piece round, the more mistakes you make, the better you're going to be. And that's very true. And I think working through from the Marines through Special Forces, we had a very unique way after operations, having hot debriefs, discussing mainly the negative points, to be fair, because we all know what went well, and we've got that good. Let's celebrate that in a bit. But right now, while it's fresh, let's get all the negative pieces out, not to sort of put anybody over the gallows or anything like that, but so that we can learn from that. And then next time, of those 5 mistakes over a year, there's 3, and then there's 2, and then there's always going to be a. So I wouldn't change much about my piece. The only bit that I hit a junction when I came out of the services, and I knew that this company here, and it was in its sort of infancy for this whole piece, although it already had a good background. I was getting approached by a lot of different groups to say, hey, come work for us, these kind of pieces. And also I had a little bit of a tap up from someone saying, why don't you set something up yourself? Embrace that entrepreneurial spirit and pieces. And I was at that junction, and I worked with Dave Kirk, the CEO. We looked each other in the eye, shook hands, and I thought, I'm going to be much better here at augmenting and improving an organization that's going in this direction rather than starting it myself. On hindsight, looking back, I really believe either option could have been phenomenal. And of course, potentially from a overall financial point of view, running off as your own entrepreneur, doing these kind of things, it would be fantastic. Having the courage, having the security, and having somebody at the time that could mentor you and give you the confidence to do that. But at the same time, significant risk. So entrepreneurs quite often, like they will put their house on the line, they will put their personal, they'll put everything on the line to make something work. And of course, by nature, not everybody is successful. Most people will fail at that. So hitting that junction again, would I change it? I don't think I would, but would I have given it a lot more thought? Yes. Would there have been the possibility of coming into the corporate space and actually going, do you know what? I've got knowledge, passion, I'm good with people, instead of doing the path that I've just done, maybe I speak to Detego and say, do you know what, I'd be a good representative for your technologies, and I pick some night vision goggles that I found are really good in my service, and some other pieces of equipment, and bring those all into a bubble and go, I truly believe in these, I'm going to represent them, and I'm going to build a business and a business model around that, like a reseller does for us. So when we go out and find partners, that's the kind of thing we're looking for: passion, knowledge, a little bit of background, access to the correct clients, of course, and then a drive to not just be order takers. Go out there. You need money. You're a business, right? That's the bottom line. But at the same time, you can do some real good. So be passionate about it. Get out there and do it. So probably didn't quite answer the question, but
no, you did absolutely. Is that little itch that might still be there by the sounds of it? What about advice you give to your 18-year-old self?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar to the last piece there. I don't have advice. I think if I gave myself too much advice, I might take it wrong at the age that I am when I'm 18, and it would all go pear-shaped for me. I think it's, believe in yourself, have a drive, have a passion, find the passion, not the job, and the rest will come. When something's hard, it's kind of just medium. If something's extremely hard, it's just hard. If you've got a passion for it, if you are in the right place, you will know it. Trust your gut. Andy, trust your gut. In fact, that's what I would say to myself. I think I kind of knew it. Your gut is nearly always right. It is picking up all those little pieces from everywhere, and it's telling you something is wrong. The problem, quite often, is your head gets involved too much. It thinks too much about it, and it goes, do you know what? Actually, I'm going to add 2 and 2 together, and it comes out as 8. So you just need to breathe, think about things and go, there is something wrong here. I need to look at it, but don't jump to the first conclusion. Now, maybe set up your own, dare I say, investigation into it, your own kind of, okay, I'm going to breathe and I'm going to look at the different courses of action, where they might lead to. So that might be the only thing. I did think about going, knowing, again, less business oriented, but knowing the operation that I went on that killed one of my friends and obviously ended my career, would I give myself advice around that operation and not do it, or not have us as a team do it, or something like that? The easy answer is to say yes, of course, or would we do it different? But the fact of the matter is the butterfly effect. You never quite know what's going to happen if you change something there. You can guess, you can judge, you can use experience and all those different pieces. But if you have already done the things that you can to mitigate everything, if you're already working in the way that you should, then you're probably doing pretty good on what you're doing. So I don't have any significant advice for my 18-year-old self, apart from all the typical funny ones that would easily come out that probably wasn't a good idea to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. But trust your gut is the main one. Go with it. Go for it. Okay. Now, you talked about some of the projects you work on, things like that. Is there anything you want to particularly elaborate on, sort of projects you're working on, new things, new products that are coming?
Yeah, so we're really well known in the digital forensic space for rapid exploitation. We've got patented technology created here in the UK. So that's all great. What we've done is we've tried to bring that back to the lab side as well, to reduce the stress and the backlogs that are clearly happening over digital devices in the labs. And one way we're doing that, obviously massive buzzword at the moment, artificial intelligence. We have an artificial intelligence program running within us. We actually also, we're not embarrassed to go out and say, hey, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. You've done that really well. Can we partner with you? Can we bring that inside? Can we augment that? Make it easier for a user experience? So, for example, we work with Project Vic, an international counter paedophile group. They have an indecent images algorithm. We use that. We also created our own, so you get both of ours. But we've just taken it to a halt. So in the next couple of weeks, we're releasing a new AI package that is absolutely phenomenal. So whether you've pulled from an iPhone, an Android, a computer, deleted information, live information, whatever, you can search kind of almost agnostically against all of that, saying, I don't just want to find cars, I want to find red BMWs, or I want to find men in uniform with a weapon, or I want to find, computers on a table with that sort of level, and it processes that. And then the investigator obviously has to come in, validate, because AI is not infallible, as we all know, but to reduce. So we're going down that road, trying to enable this kind of automation that's helping the investigator, but also critically leaving the back door open so they can get in manually, they can use their experience and all the advanced techniques they have when they need to, which they will need to. And on the side of that, of course, I mentioned case management, endpoint, those kind of pieces, going into that corporate space and bringing some of the knowledge that we have from this space into that space, and doing what I think we've done in the company. Actually, one of our series, blending the best of both. So we've got this from the forensic side going, oh, we've got huge experience from the police in our company. We've got huge experience from military. There was a time where those mindsets for digital forensics or intelligence versus evidence didn't blend so well. We've blended a lot of that together extremely well. So the speed and needs and low burdens requirements of special operations through to the forensic integrity and pieces like that of law enforcement. So yeah, it's exciting times for us. It's fantastic.
Amazing. Loads going on then. It's absolutely, sounds absolutely amazing. How can people get hold of you? What's the best way to contact you, Andy, if they've watched this video and want to know more?
Yeah, I don't know if at the end we'll put up a little contact piece, but andyl@detegoglobal.com. I'll be able to give you all my information to put up for people. If you're interested in the technology world, if you just want to talk, I mean, we are busy. I am busy in pieces like that, but I've always said, someone's there and they're interested, they reach out and they make the right intro, then we're going to talk to them. So if you're young and you're looking to get into this world, please hit me up. I might pass you to one of the team. If you're seasoned, you want to get into this world, or if you're another business owner or senior level and any of this has resonated and you want to go, hey, actually, do you know what? Would you have half an hour to chat through something? I've got a military person coming on, or I've got these issues. I'm open to do that as well. But then the door swings both ways. I'm a big believer. I'll always be honest, don't have time, or it'll be, hey, yeah, let's do that. But then, not you owe me as such, but if I ever ask, hopefully you'll do the same, and that is paying it forward, which is exactly what you're doing, Paul, with these kind of pieces here. So it's to be helpful for the community, right, as well. So
brilliant, amazing attitude. Thank you. Andy, it's been so good talking to you. Not only is your business doing well, making money, but it's doing a lot of good around the world as well, which, a lot of businesses probably can't say the same. So that's fantastic. And, really, really all the best for the future. Hope all your plans come true. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Paul. Pleasure talking to you as well.
Thank you, Andy.